welcome to I think we'll get started here. Welcome to the new BioConnect product launch seminar. Very excited to have you guys here. We have for you today Praveen Shivashankar, who is our Director of Product at BioConnect, and I'm Sayantan, the PM for BioConnect Enterprise and BioConnect Link. Just as a note, before we get started, at the end of this meeting, if you have any questions, obviously you can feel free to ask them on the chat, but if you want to stick around, and we'll unmute everyone at the end, and then we can have a discussion if you have any questions around the 11:30 mark. Okay, so today we will go through the new BioConnect 5.0 platform. We will, just to set the table, we'll review the new methods of touchless authentication, specifically on the mobile that we are now able to do, as well as our new biometric devices. We'll also go through the new thermal camera support, which I know is very relevant at this time, and also our mobile wellness solution, which you may have heard about. And then hopefully we'll also have time to do a quick sneak peek of BioConnect 5.0 just to see the alpha build and also review our mobile authenticator. Okay, let's get to it. So we've changed a lot of things in BioConnect 5.0, but just to quickly review, I think most of you are familiar with what BioConnect Enterprise is, but just to do a quick review of what we have here. It's your on-premise biometric device management software. With BioConnect Enterprise, we offer the capability to manage all Suprema devices, as well as Digitus Cabinet Shield, sync into the top access control systems in the market, which you can see on the right-hand side here. We also have some of the biggest data center customers in the world, where BCE is trusted to be a gatekeeper to protect locations that store your data. The simple global enrollment, so if you enroll at one point, it goes across your system. You don't have to have enrollment at different locations. The access, the capability to sync directly from your ACM, as you guys can see here, has always been sort of our calling card, along with the wide array of biometric devices, which we'll go into later, that BioConnect Enterprise supports. As always, security is very important and it's critical, and scalability. We make sure that we can support the biggest customers, and we can make sure that we can secure all your biometric data and it stays on-premise. Let's move on to 5.0. So in the next slide, we will, so in the next slide, we'll go through, Prav, can you go to the next slide?
It is already in the next slide.
Oh, is it just stuck for me? Okay, maybe my video is just stuck. But so with 5.0, we have a solution that aims to meet all your security needs. It's one, as I say there, one comprehensive security platform. We are adding the ability to use your mobile device as an authenticator at the door, which we'll go into detail, but at a high level, we can use either our own mobile authenticator in BioConnect Mobile, or you can choose to use some of the industry-leading MFAs, such as Duo, Okta, or Ping ID. The big thing here is we can combine biometric, thermal, mask, mobile authentication, all from one platform. Critical to our customers. We know that's important. Your biometric data and your PII, such as your raw card information, stays on premise. So even though the architecture here has a cloud component, your biometric data continues to stay on premise, never going to the cloud. Same with your raw card numbers, it will never go up to the cloud. We are adding new device support in terms of the F2 and LR1. All of these, everything here is intended for large scale corporate use, from our from our own authenticator, from the MFAs, as well as from our actual biometric device supports. Now, as part of 5.0, we're also providing, we're also going to have a lot of changes. It's probably our biggest release in a long time. We'll have full-scale sort of UI, UX changes for the better, device firmware upgrades, and performance improvements, logging, all of that stuff is coming as well, based on some of the biggest requests that we've had from customers in the last while. And on top of that, so what this architecture is showing, that you can have the same sort of layout on premise, but we're also talking to the cloud in terms of getting more authentication support. So in this case, what you see here is you have someone authenticating at the door. You have your biometric device, which is of course talking to the panel. We send up that information to cloud to add an extra layer of authentication on top of already you have, whether that's for touchless authentication or to have a third factor on top of what you already have. Okay, but to go to the next slide, the whole point here is what's driving all of these changes. And it's about looking at security as a spectrum to an extent. At the lower end, you have the card authentication that you see. On the left-hand side, you have just card coming in. Obviously, that's not the most secure form of authentication. I can take someone's card and just walk in through the door. And as you go higher, you tend to see, okay, maybe I just want to authenticate that this person, which we'll go into, is which is a new aspect of access control, is this person is healthy and this person is does not have anything that will compromise the health of my other employees. Maybe that's one aspect. Maybe it's biometric. We can extend that to include to get higher trust and higher safety, to do mobile touchless authentication, or have a combination to three-factor authentication where I'm combining biometric as well as mobile authentication. The goal of BioConnect really, and where it shines, is on the everything on the higher end of the security spectrum, everything from just doing a basic health survey to all the way to biometric and very, very high trust authentications. Okay, so to circle back to the mobile authenticator that I have referred to, so BioConnect offers the mobile authenticator as a form of access at the door. So traditionally, we've had mobile authenticators, if you guys are familiar with it, as a form of second factor authentication at for a digital application, such as if you're banking or your email sometimes has second factor authentication. Here, what we've done is let's take that technology that is very secure and bring it to the door. So as part of the mobile authenticator, the use case is very, very simple. The whole, which is sort of the theme for everything we're building, is the workflow for the user is very simple. Someone taps a card, they get a push notification, and the response of that determines if you get through the door or not. In this case, you have the BioConnect mobile authenticator on the left-hand side, where you can do a simple yes, no, or face recognition for access. Of course, like I mentioned, we also have Duo, Ping ID, and Okta, which are probably trusted applications within your IT environment if you're familiar with it. And we can leverage that technology as well very seamlessly. On top of this, we also do offer SMS as a form of entry as someone, so same workflow for a user. They tap their card, but instead of using one of this, you would get SMS on your phone that basically asks you a question, and you would respond by yes, typing it, and you get through the door. So we have different forms to meet that. Okay, let's move on to some new awesome pieces of hardware that we're supporting.
Thanks, Sayantan. Delivering on BioConnect's brand promise of an enterprise-grade security, personal safety, and privacy brought to you reliably and simply, BioConnect is very happy to announce our first flagship OEM fingerprint reader and authentication platform device, LR1. LR1 is future-proof to ensure that an enterprise can easily manage multiple modes of authentication for changing threat levels that we already saw. And it is usable across multiple access points, including data centers, server cabinets, safes, MDF, IDF closets. The Swiss Army knife flexibility enables it to be used across 5 different modes of authentication, whether you're using fingerprint, card, uh, and moving into more touchless experience, want to leverage the end user's mobile device as a way of biometric authentication, or using a simple yes no approval, or having the end user declare their wellness by submitting a wellness declaration. Combined with the dynamic threat model adoption, you can implement smart rules-based access that will enable you to customize various time-based access rules across multiple groups and roles. COVID-19, as we all know, has truly accelerated the touchless authentication medium, and face modality is emerging strongly as an obvious choice for this. Suprema's state-of-the-art Face Station F2 device, which was launched last month, along with the thermal camera, is also going to be officially supported on BCE 5.0. It provides the capability for mass detection, ability to measure the body temperature of the end user, and of course has multimodal authentication, which combines fingerprint reader, cards, and of course face. It's the fusion face recognition technology that it employs. It combines infrared as well as visual face recognition technologies. Therefore, face detection and authentication can be done without having the user necessarily be still in front of the device. While that is obviously supported, it now also enhances the user's face detection and authentication to also happen when the user is moving, right? It adapts to different light conditions as well as changing face modes. And the remote enrollment capability, again, emphasizes on the whole touchless experience. There is robust device security, data encryption. Though the templates, it must be pointed out, for F2 is different than the face templates that are generated for the Face Station 2, which brings us to the next device, which is also going to be supported on BCE 5.0, that is FS2, Face Station 2 with the thermal camera, Suprema's thermal camera. So the FS2 in combination with thermal camera has the ability to measure the body temperature by using thermography. And if the body temperature is detected to be above the normal configurable normal levels, then an alert is displayed right on the GUI of the device itself. The thermal camera itself can be easily connected to the FS2 via a USB interface. So it can be leveraged not only to the new FS2 devices, but can also be retrofit into the pre-existing ones. Apart from these, BCE 5.0 platform will continue to support the existing set of hardware suites, BS2, BW2, BP2, BLN2, and as we already saw, FS2 and F2 devices. Now we will look into one of the key new feature of authentication, which is a wellness declaration. Sayantan, you're on mute.
Thanks. And just while we're at it, I see a question, and just while we're talking about the thermal camera, there's no need for, the question was, will we have black body reference support for the thermal camera? There's no need for that because the thermal camera self-calibrates. So no black body reference required. And the F2 does have a digital keypad for anything you need. So that was the other question. Does it have a keypad for the F2? Okay, just a quick break to answer questions there. To jump back into wellness declaration, what I really want to go into here is I really want to focus on the problem that companies are currently facing and will probably be facing for the foreseeable future. So if right now in buildings, office spaces, the barrier to entry for people coming back is, or even people just going into the office for any reason, is just, or even going to their condominium, is just a manual survey. Someone has to come in, fill out a bunch of paperwork to certify, yes, I'm healthy, I don't have any symptoms, and then they get access through the door. To do this, companies have to hire additional security guards, which is, of course, extra human costs that companies are paying. So these security guards are at the door, some maybe even at risk to themselves. They're answering questions, they're handing out papers, they're collecting these papers, they're storing it somewhere. So there's a lot of human involvement and human cost that's currently there. And let's say the worst should happen, if someone does get in with unknowingly with COVID-19, the reporting capabilities are obviously, as you can imagine, pretty subpar that you can do with just a paper trail. It's harder to audit, it's harder to trace when everything is on paper. So we wanted to tie this in with access control and be able to automate this, use technology to remove the human component as much as possible. So if we go on to the next slide, we're going digital. So what this means is the workflow, again, the theme of today is very simple. You go ahead, you tap your card or place your finger at the reader, whatever your form of authentication is. This will send a custom wellness survey, so you can decide what your questions will be. You can decide what you want to ask to your phone. And if it hasn't been completed today, so this is key, we want to make sure we ask the question once a day to avoid, every time you go outside and just come back in for lunch break, we don't want to ask you the same questions. But if you haven't completed it in that day, we will ask you questions that you have determined are what you need, for whether that's the government mandated questions or something that your HR team has come up with. You have to answer these questions successfully, and then you gain entry through the door. So if you move on, I think we have a quick video here for you guys, just that we can play, and that will probably be the best sort of description.
Just a sound check. Is everyone able to hear the sound of the video? If not, I'll just.
If not, it's okay. I think we can just play.
Okay. Now this should.
BioConnect Mobile's new wellness declaration feature allows your users to affirm their wellness and to control access based on your user's potential exposure to COVID-19. When the feature is enabled, your users will be prompted to answer a simple questionnaire in order to authenticate, which they can complete at any time from BioConnect Mobile. When authenticating at your location, if the user has responded in the last 24 hours that they have been potentially exposed to COVID-19, they will not be granted access. If a user isn't at risk of having been exposed, authenticating will grant them access like usual. To enable the feature, simply go to the Authenticator's page and link, select Enforce Wellness Declaration, and click Update. Under Account Settings, you can also set up alerts to be sent to a list of emails when access is denied to one of your users. If you visit the Configure Webhooks page, you can add Slack channels to send these notifications to as well. Administrators can also view a log of access events to see who has been denied and granted access. For more information, visit our website at bioconnect.com.
Yep. So that's a very, very quick sort of overview in terms of how the solution, how it's set up. But I want to circle back to one of the, we saw how easy it was to quickly set up. You can literally set it up within minutes in terms of having a wellness authentication at the door. Obviously, since we tie into the access control system, onboarding is very simple. But I want to tie into something we saw in the video, which was the Slack notification. What we're trying to do is, we know that these are important things in terms of if someone is coming in that has and like whatever it is. Right now, obviously, the most important thing is COVID, but obviously this can be extrapolated to ask any other question and send any other type of alerts. So we can send an alert, whether it's through Slack or Microsoft Teams, just to showcase that functionality. Obviously, we can extend to anything else, and of course, email. If you don't have that. So you can send anytime someone is denied access for whatever reason that you have decided is critical for your company, we can send this alert. Okay, next slide. So as part of this wellness solution, we have customers currently using it. And this is a use case that one of our biggest customers is currently using in a building in Toronto, downtown Toronto right now. The use case is exactly what we went through. You have someone tap your card. In their specific case, they're using a BioConnect Link device. Obviously, with 5.0, you don't need that. You can just use your biometric device and without having to put any extra hardware in place. This comes in, they get a notification. They have their own custom survey that you can see there. And once they get it and submit it, they're doing facial recognition. After that, we send it to the cloud. And if it's success, we send that signal to your ACM. And of course, the door opens. And everything is logged. So it's all there, circling back to the auditing point. You have this information for future use. You have alerts coming real time. So it's all available to you. And of course, if it fails, you can get a message that identifies that, hey, you failed. We have informed people. So you get feedback for the user if they failed. And then an alert is sent to their admins. Okay, next slide. So in this case, just really quickly, our Digital Plus solution, you can see there, just to recap what it is. So it's a mobile survey, very easy to set up, very easy to send, very easy to customize. It's basically a virtual security guard if you tie into your access control panel, and real-time reporting and compliance. So you don't need to have manual security guards. You don't need to have manual sort of paper trails. Everything is there for you as employees start coming back to work, and in the future for any other purposes and all other use cases in terms of having real intelligence at the door. Okay, and then of course, knowing that there will be an initial, if there is an initial need to just use the solution, but not necessarily tie it in with your access control, just as a form of verification. Our digital solution, as opposed to the Digital Plus, is you will have reporting capabilities, just like with our digital solution. You will have the mobile survey, again, fully customizable, but since it's not tied into the security control system, you would need to have mobile. You need to have someone in place, sort of just seeing, like, if someone will come in, once they get approved, they'll have a green check mark to show to the security guard and they'll get in. So it's completely dependent on how you would like to deploy it, what fits sort of your access needs, because maybe it's not tied to an actual door for entry, but it's just like a manual verification. So of course, in this case, you still have the security guard component, but we go an extra mile to make sure at least there's no paperwork involved, and you have auditing capabilities. Okay. So this is a bit of a treat. So we want to show you a very alpha build of BC 5.0. Obviously, there's still some UI components and stuff that's going to change pretty drastically before the actual release happens. But this is just a very quick way to show how we're integrating with Link. So everything, this is probably something you guys are familiar with. Um, so just going through normal setup assistant, but all we're trying to do here is just go the extra step in terms of, so we're using Software House for our ACM and just going the extra mile to integrate with BioConnect Link. So what I did here is I put in my information to connect to the cloud, and then I'm selecting fields to sync from your ACM. You don't have to sync all of them, but what it does is once we have that third-party ID, we can send a push notification to a user. So let's say Praveen's access control information is synced in, his card information with this extra step, and that was literally it. The rest of it is just going honestly through the install process. Once we have his third-party ID, we can send a push notification directly to his mobile phone, and that's it. There's nothing else you have to do from a configuration or extra standpoint. Once you have BCE and you want to use Link on top of that, of course you can use them separately, but if you want to use Link on top of that, that's the entire step. That's it. We can move on. This is really quick in terms of once you have BioConnect Link, what does that mean for a customer, for an admin setting it up? Again, super simple. All you're doing is just clicking Enable BioConnect Link. It's just that easy. And once you have that, your device is now configured, that specific biometric device. So let's say it's at a choke point and you want to get surveys at that door, as an example, just that specific reader. You can select just that one reader and say, I want to get BioConnect. I want to get a wellness declaration whenever someone puts their finger at the door or taps a card. If you want touchless authentication, whatever the use case may be, you can do that directly through your BioConnect Enterprise platform. Again, you can choose to use it completely as BioConnect Link separate, and that has different, and that one is completely on cloud. You can choose to use that platform as well, but this is for BioConnect 5.0 specifically connected with your local BioConnect Enterprise system. Okay, and that's BioConnect 5.0. So I wanted to move to the mobile authenticator side, Praveen.
So the whole value proposition of the BioConnect 5.0 platform, as you can see, is the unification of physical and digital access. And this whole value proposition is bolstered significantly by virtue of having BioConnect Mobile Authenticator, which takes biometrics off of the wall and hands it over to the end user and brings it to the end user's handheld device, the mobile device. The mobile authenticator has been truly built for the new world order with post-COVID-19, whatever the new normal is going to be. It allows for multimodal authentication, which covers face, voice, and the biometrics that are supported natively on the device, whether it is Touch ID or Face ID. Obviously, you already saw the wellness declaration, which involves customization of the questions too, and it supports adaptive authentication methodologies depending on the threat level. Maybe you want to combine different modalities, different authentication aspects in order to have a user use not only face, but also a combination of device native with face and things like that in order to increase the level of security. And the mobile app itself has been in production for over 2 years, for nearly 2 years now, and has been built to ensure privacy and security. Particularly, all the users' biometric and PII information resides only on the device. The user has full control on their biometric templates. The templates will never leave the user's device. Everything is stored in a highly encrypted format. And even if the device is jailbroken, immediately the app is rendered non-usable. So every bit of user information, biometric information is protected, and we respect the end user's right to forget. So all of this data that the user has control over can be easily erased by the user at the click of a button by resetting and logging out of the application and uninstalling the application. The BC mobile app itself, allows for the enterprises to customize the authenticator so that if you want to have your own custom branding on it, it allows for that with any kind of customization of the colors, primary colors, secondary colors, the look and feel, it can be done. The mobile app is, of course, available for both on-prem as well as cloud deployments, and enabling for those customers who already have their own mobile applications but want to increase the capability of that by enabling biometric authentication within their existing mobile apps. We have the BioConnect SDK 2.0, which brings with it enterprise scale features that allows for easy adaptation to technological changes. Maybe you want to introduce a new modality. Maybe there is a new technology that has come in for existing biometric modalities, whether it is phase or you want to now introduce periocular mode of authentication for the new normal where people are going to be using face masks more frequently. Then bringing these new technologies and technological partners in and out of the system can be seamlessly handled through the SDK 2.0. Another flagship introduction that is happening with SDK 2.0 is bringing in passive behavioral modality, which takes the whole narrative of passwordless authentication furthermore. You can again customize the UI, UX, the look and feel of the app itself, the experience for the end user. It has enhanced support enablement, especially as
for more information, visit our website at bioconnect.com.
Multiple versions of the OS, underlying OS, Android, iOS platforms. So there is a feature which enables for you to dynamically export device logs without having to go through the hassle of having the end user answer a whole lot of questions whenever there is a potential for some issue that has. Again, it has been built to ensure privacy and security. To talk a little bit more about the behavioral modality itself, that has been introduced into this feature, it links with another flagship product of BioConnect, the Trust AI solution, where passive attributes, completely anonymized passive attributes, such as date and time of the authentication, the modality that the user typically uses, the score, the authentication or the match score, anonymized geolocation data, anonymized IP address, which can also be used for geolocation, tracking the network behavior, whether the person is accessing it from a legitimate network source or whether it is from a blacklisted network source. All of this can be used to quantify the risk of a transaction, which again enhances the security and bringing with it the convenience of the user not even having to go through any sort of a particular enrollment process. All the user has to do is continue to use the app as they typically do. Again, all the user biometrics will remain on the device. Nothing is leaving the user's device and has complete control. The user has complete control on the biometric information. So that's a little bit about the new behavioral modality that is also going to be included within SDK 2.0. With this, I think we have come to the end of our session today. I would like to thank you all for joining us, and this ends the session. And if you have any further questions, please stick around. We can unmute everybody. And if there are any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks for your time, and thank you for joining us. And we hope you will stick around for additional sessions that are coming up.
So there is a question in the Q&A. Will there be a ruggedized, hardened version of the F2, maybe for use by a gate?
F2 is outdoor rated, so
it's
you
already
can
outdoor certified. Yeah. We can get back to you on this, whether it is rugged for outdoor use.
I think it's waterproof, like it's IP65 rated,
Yeah.
but we can confirm that.
Do you have any plans to integrate video from Silicon, Optics, Hanwha, WiseNet, Wave, DW Spectrum?
Should we just unmute? Or I guess that's fine as well. We have looked into video solutions for not specifically those ones, but we have looked into video for with other partners in terms of using whether it's a security cameras they already have or just for facial recognition as you come through the door as an extra form of authentication. But not with those ones. Prav, if you want to add anything.
No, I think that's right. For mobile credential, especially the use of Apple Wallet for card on iOS, that is something that we are actively looking into, and we can update it as soon as we have resolution for that. We are in partnership discussions with Apple around this.
Is it possible maybe to access the video from a Face Station 2 or a Face Station F2 via OnVIF to integrate it into a third-party recording system?
I don't believe so. I think the way that works is you can't use that for anything other than just facial recognition. We did look at other video sort of, we looked at initially with Gemtech and also with a facial recognition called Rank 1 in terms of doing facial verification, but I don't believe you can use the F2 video to do video verification.
Okay, thank you.
I can do that. And if I get back early enough.
Prav, there was another question in terms of the template encryption is listed on the side from Robert. If the template is encrypted on the phone.
Yes, all the templates, all the biometric templates are completely encrypted on the device. And even the communication of the authentication data, whether the user succeeded or failed authentication, what was the match score, all of this communication is happening completely encrypted.
Is there any way to use mobile authentication with Enterprise, BioConnect with OnGuard? If I understand the question correctly, then yes. Basically, the way we have it is we connect to your OnGuard platform using BioConnect Enterprise. You could also, like I said, connect to BioConnect Link. So we have that integration happening with OnGuard right now. And we can leverage that information. In fact, a lot of our customers currently are using that to do mobile authentication. So we get that information from your ACM, and then we can send a step up to your phone to do mobile authentication. So the answer is yes.
Awesome. I think that brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you again for joining, and we hope you're enjoying today's whole event, and we look forward to seeing you in the additional sessions coming up. Thank you.
And feel free to reach out to us at any time for any questions or verification. Our contacts are.
For more information, visit our website at bioconnect.com.